more so with greater resources.
Money.
and from what is new, from what I understand, and I'm not an expert on this, is
you're on pallets. You're the pallet expert. Right?
I'm the pallet man. till the next guy walks in the door. But the export cabinet, I think, bringing together at the highest level the government agencies engaged in that. And looking at a coordinated and forceful, I guess, approach. There is coordination that happens already
within.
Yes, there are about 20 government agencies that are involved to some extent in export promotion.
Oh, really? Huh? In agriculture, I know.
To some extent, yeah. Well, I mean, you've got Exim Bank, you have the Small Business Administration, who have some programs, but also do a lot of counseling, as we do, and we work closely with them. There is the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, State Department, obviously. We have 150 offices. We're in 76 countries, but the other and those 76 handle about 96% of the trade that there is done.
Commercial stuff,
But there are another 120 countries where the commerce person isn't there. So the State Department officer handles when a U.S. company comes through the door, he can't.
Somebody's got to say hello. Yeah,
he says hello to him and provides his assistance.
Now, I'm sorry. What else?
And for these smaller posts, we have partnership post agreements, where we work with those smaller countries to deliver them our services.
With the country, in other words, so you have a foreign national you're working with?
Well, I'll give you an example. I was in Saudi Arabia, and I was in Dhahran, which covered the eastern province, did the oil sector. About an hour's drive away was the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Oh. Okay.
Has its own embassy.
I see.
Separate country.
I see.
Obviously, a lot less business than in Saudi Arabia, but still a certain amount of business. They've signed a free trade agreement with the United States, and it's a great. So
you would cover that.
So I would advise the State Department's employee, local employee, on helping U.S. companies who come through her door. And give them the same level of service that you would get in Saudi Arabia. So lots of arrangements like that. And in fact, that person joined our Saudi Arabia office to bring a delegation to the franchise show.
Really? Here? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a joint delegation.
I see.
So we would work to support them to make sure they have the resources and understanding.
You bring people here. That's for them to look at businesses to bring over there. I see.
Well, that's another part of it. It's trade missions, both outward trade missions and inward trade missions. I think part of the export initiative is a significant ramping up of the number of trade missions that we take overseas.
Oh, really? And what's a trade mission mean?
Well, we're doing one to Saudi Arabia and Qatar in a month. They're industry focused usually.
And what industry is that?
It is healthcare and sanitation. So it encompasses, medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, hospital supplies, as well as, clean water technologies. Anything surrounding, cast very broadly. And where we recruit that nationally. So
you mean recruit what? Companies?
Our 100 offices throughout the U.S., my office, we send out an email to our database of companies that we think might be interested in this opportunity. Telling them about the trade mission.
And what is, if you don't know what a trade mission means, what?
Okay, we help take American companies to foreign markets to introduce them to partners there. At a minimum, find out about that market, and hopefully do some business. This trade mission to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Again, our posts overseas have said, here's a market opportunity. We think you should look into this, and it's a big one, so focus on a trade mission. the Undersecretary of the International Trade Administration will lead that mission. Usually 20 or 30 companies will go.
It's a sales investigation.
And our office more than that. It's matchmaking. Our offices overseas will create a series of events.
So you actually
conferences,
bringing in the folks.
Exactly. You always one-on-one matchmaking, so there might be a day of that.
Right.
There will be opportunities to interact with the government officials responsible for those industry sectors, get feedback from them, get feedback from the local American business community, from the American Chambers of Commerce.
Right.
So it's an opportunity for a large amount of matchmaking at a relatively high level in order to promote that industry sector in that market that we consider to have significant growth possibilities.
And nobody can do that as well as an American embassy, I'm sure, over there.
That's right. I mean,
you guys know how to party.
Well, you mentioned the partying in Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of tea and coffee involved, but the advantage there is if people call back when the embassy calls.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If I say I have a pallet company that's coming in, and this is the embassy, and can they meet, you're more likely to get
some guy from New Jersey calling it.
That's right. That's
not going to get the same.
So there is that. I mean, you raise the profile of it, and demonstrate our real commitment to that industry and making it happen. And it's usually a very good opportunity for our people in country to not only meet with the American firms, but to reaffirm their contacts, with the government officials and the industry representatives there. So
now you're federal, but we're in a county office here, right?
Yes.
So my understanding that a lot of counties, cities, and states have similar kind of programs, or differently? Or
yes.
How do you fit in?
Well, here we work with we would describe them as business multipliers. We will work with anyone who can achieve our objective, which is promote. We're not particular. who can, as well as government. I mean, chambers of commerce and even individual consultants.
Right.
The challenge is to get the U.S. companies exporting.
Right.
Let's say in the state of Virginia, there is the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, which is the state of Virginia or Commonwealth of Virginia's trade promotion
so they have
division.
The state has a trade promotion office, like Commerce has a trade promotion.
Yes.
You're a federal trade promotion, and that's a state trade promotion.
Yes.
But you guys do the same thing, or different?
Or? Somewhat.
I see.
The state of Virginia has certain people located, consultants usually, that they hire in strategic places like Hong Kong, something like that. We have someone in Europe to cover that. But it's perhaps there is a small amount of duplication. But the end, and with the state, part of their mission that we don't really have is promotion of inward investment into that state.
The state is trying to bring it here also.
They'd be very happy to see a German company locate inside their state for the American market, and also supporting the exporters in their particular state. And they do trade missions. They have
their own trade missions.
Yes.
So you as the Fed will have trade missions, the state will have trade missions.
Ours are countrywide and industry focused. Theirs will be, they may have an industry focus, but largely they will be Virginia companies, to a particular market. And they may engage with us overseas to support that mission. In fact, usually will. I mean, we might put on a reception for them.
I see.
And the relationship between the state is different in every location.
Every state seems very
I know in our office in Utah works very closely with the Utah Economic Development Development Agency, and they buy large numbers of our services, that matchmaking service, that $350 thing.
You get a gross discount, huh?
You get a gross discount. So, sometimes they use us a lot more in particular markets.
But if I was thinking about it for the first time, would I go to the local Fed office or the state office or both? Or?
Well, I would go to the Fed office, but it's up to you.
But it looks like you're in the same office.
No, we work very closely with the state of Virginia, and we mount sort of informational events together.
Right.
So if we have a seminar for local companies, as we did last week in services for architectural construction services. We had, I don't know, like 50 local companies here.
Really? These are architects selling services overseas?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just to provide them some basic information and how to proceed, that kind of thing. We worked with the state of Virginia on that. Wow. I mean, the objectives are shared.
Right. And how about local? Arlington have separate people too, or is that just state?
They support companies, foreign companies that come into Arlington, for example. They will try to encourage them to set up their headquarters here.
But that's coming this way.
Coming that way. We're on the county level. We tend to work with them directly. We may send out information about an upcoming event or an upcoming trade mission, either outward or inward, and they would disseminate that to their members, to their local contacts.
I remember back when I was doing business to business a lot, that there was. The embassies used to also provide office space at times too. Is that still available or not?
Yeah, they did in a couple of places.
So it depends.
I think after 9/11, the security concerns got so great that some of those sort of local initiatives where we were engaged. I remember I was in the Republic of Georgia. And it was quite a tough environment and not many resources on the ground. So yes, they did not in the embassy, but they organized somewhere where American businesses could come in, access a computer, get some administrative support and some advice. So we had those a lot. In the past, we used to do a lot of events inside the embassy as well, and now we tend to do them at a local venue with our support.
Because of security?
I think security has become much greater concern in certain markets.
Right. So the bottom line in all this is that the government, you're the feds, it seems like, because of Obama, that you're increasing your visibility and resources eventually on getting more businesses involved and selling overseas, because if we don't do that, we ain't going to grow, are we?
No, exactly. And we're not operating in a vacuum. Our competitor nations are very aggressive, and in some instances, subsidize their companies in participating in trade missions or that kind of thing.
Well, we do that too somewhere at the state level and things I've heard of, but I don't know. Everyone seems to be different in the States. What kind of
Well, I mean,
services they're offering.
I think there's somewhat a different mentality between an EU company which has high expectations of its government, high expectations of support.
I see,
and expects to be encouraged to export, and ourselves, who I guess the American way is, why do I need business? Why do I need the federal government?
Because they're going to get you a contract overseas. That's
So I mean, there's not that high expectation that we're going to deliver for them, and that's part of the challenge. Letting them know that there are some good services of value that are available to you. They will help you. I'm from Washington, and I'm here to help you.
That's not a joke. And see, what I see is the big companies know that, man, and they're using you, right?
Well, we work with the big companies. In terms of things like finding partners, they don't need us.
Right, I see.
But there will come a time when they have a problem in a particular country that they need the government support to help them resolve.
Or even a market study. I mean, you guys probably have that for it too, the information and like.
Yeah, for large companies, they can get the information they need. They've been there a long time. There's not much we tell them about the market conditions. In fact, when we meet with them a lot overseas, it's informative for us.
I see.
There's an exchange of information. They tell
if they're already settled there, but I'm thinking like in a new market, if they're going into a new market.
But there is a very important thing that we do for all American companies, and that's advocacy. If they're going for a contract overseas, we want them to get that contract. We engage with them.
I see.
And we have in Washington, in Commerce, something called the Advocacy Center. So this is a team that's devoted to tracking and coordinating U.S. government's support for particular companies going after, tend to be large contracts, public tenders overseas. So a company that expresses an interest in our support, they will fill out a short questionnaire. It really is short. Just to
I'm from the government.
Yes, that's right. Here's a wad of papers. No, it's relatively short. Just describing the contract that they're going for, who they are, who their partners might be. Put that on file with the Advocacy Center, which describe themselves as a kind of war room. So they are then looking for opportunities that we can promote that. Usually the work is done overseas at the embassy level.
And that's where it's handed out. So.
That's right. And it's usually done by our staff. We'll engage the ambassador if there are some opportunities to promote that project. I mean, we're looking for fair treatment for U.S. companies. To make sure that the decision making is open and transparent and based on the merits of the bid, and also, by the way, it's an American company, and it would be really nice if they got the contract. So express our interest, our strong interest in that, but also having the Advocacy Center involved. They can see opportunities across the board that we can't. So let's say a foreign minister is visiting Washington.
I see.
And in meetings, then he needs our his interlocutor, our minister, secretary, whatever, needs to have in his briefing papers information about the contracts that American firms are seeking with this. That this minister may have an interest in it or influence in. Get it on the radar, and then if the opportunity arises, then make the pitch.
Have you seen since the announcement from the White House? Have you seen a little bump in activity at all? You noticed yet?
Well, I mean, I haven't from here. In a domestic office, we tend not to see too much of the advocacy issues.
Not the advocacy, but just in general, the interest in selling overseas. I mean, in the down economy now, do you feel more businesses are saying, "Hey, maybe I should"? Or?
Well, I do. It's hard to tell whether that is because of the increase in the profile of exporting. Or whether the recession is forcing creativity.
It does, man. I get smarter.
That's right. And so we're seeing a lot of very small companies and startups as well. Wanting to think about getting into export markets. So I mean that's challenging in its own right. I mean many of them we meet with, we advise. They're not what we call export ready. But there's no reason why they couldn't be in a short space of time. And I think in this region, in Northern Virginia, there are a large number of expatriates. I mean, we're very diverse population. Many people with origins overseas, and they are looking to develop export potential with their country of origin.
Home country, yeah.
Well, that's half the battle, really.
Exactly.
I mean, you know the local market, you speak the language, you know the culture, and you may have family there.
Right, you can call a brother-in-law to get something for you.
Yes, so I mean, there's a good chance of success there, even though they may be tiny, even though they may be startups. It could work. America's a good place for creative ideas.
Absolutely.
So, we're by no means discouraging of that. We would encourage it. But if it's at a very early stage, then we go to our partners in Small Business Administration.
I see, right.
Say, here, work with this company. They have lots of issues that are not unique to exporting, simply starting up.
Right.
And
like the business development centers, those people.
There's and here in Arlington, they have the Biz Launch. To work with the Arlington companies. So the Small Business Administration comes in here to counsel. There is something called SCORE, which is retired executives who meet with companies here and share their experience. So there are lots of resources available. Knitting it all together is a lot easier if we are, say, co-located as we are here with Arlington County.
These are nice offices here.
That's right. They're very nice. Thank you to the Arlington taxpayer. There is cost is another concern that we're co-located, that we take and pay for the space that we need. And
I don't know. There must be synergy,
obviously this meeting, this office, it is now. It's Arlington's, but it's available for our use, and we have a wonderful conference room next door that's available for our use. So it's a lot more efficient from the federal taxpayers' point of view.
You're a wonderful chat, and I'm glad you're here, and I just hope more businesses know about the great job you guys are doing and how to help us increase those sales overseas. That's what it's all about. So use these guys. They're free. Well, real cheaper than you can find it anywhere else.
Real cheap, $350. Most of it's free.
Exactly.
It's just a couple of services that we charge for. Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to reach a wider audience.